Alright, today we're going to learn about the causes of World War I. We have 3 daily objectives. Number 1, list and describe the reasons that World War I occurred. Number 2, explain the crisis in the Balkans. And number 3, describe trench warfare. So World War I has 4 main causes. The first is the rise of nationalism. Many nations wanted their own states. Others wanted to unify their countries. A notable example is in the Balkans, which we'll talk about on the next slide. Component 2 is imperialism. We talked about that in the last video. So European countries are competing for colonies in Africa and Asia. Prestige is involved, resources involved, money's involved. It's a huge contributor to World War I. Number 3 is militarism. European countries, as a result of the Industrial Revolution, have created some really advanced weapons. They have huge standing armies, and they've spent lots of money on warfare. They want to test them out. And number 4 is alliances. We've got a system of tangled alliances. Kaiser Wilhelm II has created an alliance with Austria-Hungary, that's Germany, with Austria-Hungary and Italy. In response, Russia, France, and Great Britain have allied together. So let's talk about the crisis in the Balkans. One nation, one group of people, the Slavs, that's what they're called, the Slavs, want to create one Slavic state in the Balkans. The Balkans includes Greece, but it's this part of Europe over here on the other side of Italy, between Turkey and Italy. It does make a peninsula. But there's a group of people called Slavs. You can see these orange hash marks. Those are all Slavs. So Slavs here, Slavs here, Slavs here, Slavs here, Slavs in Russia. So they want one Slavic country in the Balkans. Now Austria-Hungary, they are not Slavic. Part of them are, but the people who rule Austria-Hungary aren't Slavic. They're actually German. They fought this idea, and they started taking Slavic territory for themselves, specifically Bosnia down here. Now this angers Russia and Serbia. Russia, Serbia, two fellow Slavic countries. So on June 28, 1914, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, a guy by the name of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, is shot in Bosnia by a Slav nationalist. So he's down here celebrating his, actually it was uncle's victory over Bosnia and the conquest of Bosnia, when a Slav nationalist comes and assassinates him. In response, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia because they think Serbia has backed and supported this guy. And then Russia then declares war on Austria-Hungary. Why? Because Russia feels like Austria-Hungary's beating up their little brother, Serbia. Slavs fighting non-Slavs. That's the idea here. The problem is the series of tangled alliances that have been created in Europe. Russia assumes Germany, who is an ally of Austria-Hungary, is going to join the war. So Russia sends troops along the Russian-German border. Russia and Austria-Hungary are already fighting. Afraid of an invasion, Germany declares war on Russia. Germans like, oh, the Russians are coming. We better go ahead and declare war and get this thing started. So now Germany and Austria-Hungary are fighting Russia. The problem is that Russia and France are allied together. Germany knows this. So Germany goes ahead and declares war on France too. So now Germany is fighting France and Russia. Austria-Hungary is fighting Russia as well as France, but Austria-Hungary and France don't share a border. Great Britain, who is allied to France, in response then declares war on Germany. Next thing you know, the entire continent is embroiled in a war. Now, we have the Allied powers in green. These are the French and the British, and eventually the United States also joins. These are the green countries. And the Central powers are this light pink color. So we have the Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. So by 1914, the war has locked into a stalemate. Nobody's moving. People are killing each other, but nobody's really moving. Germany is surrounded by Russia and France, and fails to defeat either one. Their forces are divided. Half of them are on the east, half of them are on the west. In France, the war has devolved into trench warfare. This you can see an example of trench warfare. We've literally got a ditch, and these two guys are living in a ditch. It sucks. Life is miserable for the common soldier in these trenches. Gains are very expensive, so it takes a lot of lives to actually get out of the ditch and try to take more territory. As you can see, these trenches are filled with water when it rains. Rats are living in these things. It's really a mess. New technologies like airplanes, machine guns, tanks, and artillery. Strategists thought this would make the war go by really quick, and it didn't. It just ended up killing a lot more people. Military strategists had no idea what to do. We're not going to look at some pictures from World War I. Here we can see another picture of some guys in a trench. This trench looks a little nicer. We've got some sandbags. We've got like some sticks or whatever holding the trench up. Lots of guys piled in together. Most of them have helmets on, some don't. You definitely want to wear a helmet in a trench. This is actually 50 yards from the German trenches. Here's a picture of this guy. He's up here. He's got his rifle. He's probably trying to shoot somebody on the other side of the trench. Another good picture of what the inside of a trench looks like. This is a picture from a gas attack. So we can see, got some soldiers over here. They've got gas masks on, running forward. This guy somehow lost his gas mask, and now he's suffocating to death. Here's a picture of what it kind of looks like if you've been hit with gas. These guys got these awful-looking boils coming over him. Really, really sucks. So Eastern Front. Russia fought hard in Germany and Austria-Hungary. So I mean, the battles they're intense. But Russia is not nearly as technologically advanced as Germany. They did not industrialize as quick. So Russia falls short on both guns and ammunition. You can see here, it's a great picture. You've got literally what are like old school cannons Russians are using versus airplanes. Like, this doesn't make any sense at all. Russia has a huge population. This is really the only thing that keeps it in the war. Russian armies could quickly be replaced with fresh soldiers, but this isn't going to last forever. This is a really cool map kind of showing what different countries in different regions, how they participated in World War I. So you can see that it was truly a world war. Everybody was involved. So the main fighting of the war does occur on the Western Eastern fronts in Europe, but everybody is involved one way or another. Southwest Asia, that's the Middle East. War rages in Southwest Asia as Arab nationalists battle their Turkish rulers. So Arabs in like Egypt, Palestine, those kinds of places are actually fighting the Ottomans here. In Africa, European colonies throughout Africa become battlefields because they're fighting each other because they belong to the Europeans. South America, Brazil is the only South American country to enter the war, but they do, and it supports the Allies with both warships and personnel. India, remember India is a colony of the British. They've taken it over. So India provides about 1.3 million men to fight actually in Europe, which is kind of cool or kind of crazy, alongside their British rulers throughout Europe. Australia, both countries, both Australia and New Zealand, fight on the side of the Allies and contribute many troops to the 1915 Gallipoli campaign, which is a huge failure for the Allies. Japan declares war on Germany in 1914 and seizes lots of German colonies over here in the Pacific, and the United States enters in 1917 on the side of the Allies. Take a couple minutes and answer your 3 daily objectives.